Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're live, and it's been so long I forgot all my lines, but welcome back to the channel. It is April 3rd, 2025, coming at you live from the 2LaneLIVE headquarters. And we got Frankie Loyal in the house today for round two. He was here before telling some great stories, and there's more where that came from. Galen, I'm drinking a beer with you today, kind of.
Yeah.
It is the 805 0. So cheers, mate.
Tell the internet people.
These are great because if you have a severe issue or if you just don't want to do something incredibly stupid after work, you have one of these. So that's what I'm doing.
Do they taste good though?
They actually are pretty good.
All right, there you have it. There you have it. What a cool show we have. I mean, think about it. Frankie came in, did a great show with us. He's family, and he's here again. I mean, that's awesome. Like,
well, guess
more
what?
stories.
He's a badass.
He's a badass.
You know why I say that?
Why?
Because it started thunder and lightning out here.
Right.
And I'm like, oh shit, he's going to be riding into that stuff. And he just barreled on through. It was hail. It was, I mean, it came out of nowhere. You looked like you were soaked dog.
I loved it.
Well, think about it. He likes music. He's an actor. He's a rider. He's legit rider. We've seen him. We met you in Sturgis.
Right. 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,400 miles away from here.
24.
Met you in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And we have not held up our end of the bargain by going to dinner. So you're on for that one.
I'm down. I mean, we've all been busy. I got to come to your last event though. That was great.
You did.
I wasn't going to miss it for the world.
Right. And you made it there for sure. That was cool.
I did forget one thing.
What's that?
This episode is brought to you by Law Tigers Motorcycle Attorneys. Find yourself in a pinch, get in an accident, make sure you call them before insurance, and they'll take care of you.
Real quick before we get into it, you know how we like patches and challenge coins. We were at the Thrash and Open House. My wife Laura was talking with a customer who she's been talking to over the last year, buying stuff, and they became kind of friends. Well, Joe Giglia brought us his father's patches and challenge coins from New York Highway Patrol. So now we know we won't be getting a ticket in New York.
And
thank you, Joe.
We love our people. It's a lot of dedication of all of you out there. And by the way, the thrash and drop is where we just did the thrash and drop. And so we didn't see that in there, did we?
I don't think we saw it on ours, didn't we? One of them did.
We might have. I'm not sure.
I think we did.
But hopefully you watch that. And also we had Russell Parker. Here's a picture of him. You can't see him that well. That's at Cave, the Dive in Cave
City, Kentucky.
Him and his daughter have a little leather goods company. So they made some coasters, little comb holders, Poppy and K. Instagram is Poppy and K _leather. So check it out. Really cool. Thank you, Russell. Well, thank you to you and your daughter.
Yeah. And you know how we always support firefighters, military, all that. Well, the really cool thing is so does Frankie. He's into the same, I guess maybe guys that ride motorcycles.
Yeah, Fire Hogs, LA County Fire Hogs, MC.
Right on.
Firefighters who ride. They're responsible for a lot of good charities. You know, they do the fallen heroes, widows and orphans funds. And right now they've really been pushing hard, essentially, because the fires have obviously been at an all-time high.
Well, let's talk about that because you don't have to do certain things, but you choose to. So we had these massive fires here, as everyone knows, and still people are displaced. I mean, Altadena is really bad. That didn't get a lot of coverage.
Right.
But it was close to your home too. I mean, it was in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah. If I had lived in my original place when I first moved here, it would have been a really bad scene.
Yeah.
But it was chaotic and people were panicked and they were scared and nobody wants to see that. But it was also, this is happening. I remember being up early that morning and just seeing the winds before the melee had happened. And it was just something in the air. It just was very off-putting. But our firefighters and first responders were there. They went straight in it. And, I made my way around some of the different stations and talked with some of the different firefighters and, most of the Tahunga hotshots. I was up there with Jack Wise, who's with the LA County firefighters, but he also heads the LA County Fire Hogs. There's him and Armando Diaz and just a lot of good guys that, because of working with them for a few years, I kind of got to go in and see how they do things. And I always respected what they do, but I had a whole newfound respect seeing their briefings, how they discuss the containments. I mean, I'm a civilian and I got to see this stuff. And I was really honored, but brave.
Well, my son has a scanner because he's in the medical profession and once fired and was part of the hot shots up as well, and it was interesting to me because he could digress what was being said on the radio.
Right.
Like, Charlie, oh, that's a helicopter for LA County, or that.
Right.
He could tell. And these guys, the spotters relaying the information to the ground it's a whole process. It's an amazing like orchestra, just this big song and just crazy.
It was a crash course in the lingo.
Yeah.
The protocols. And it was just the way they all delegated their responsibilities, but it was such a respectful group of firefighters that were just so, I mean, it was to be on, just watch it as it's taking place while the fires are happening and while they're on the move. You're just, and they were exhausted, but
you were helping out too. You were serving food and you were cleaning up stuff, right? I mean,
I was glad to be there. I mean, it was the least I could do. They wouldn't let me drive a truck or anything. But yeah, I wanted to be of service because you think about the way things are, especially the past few years, those guys are running into everything, not even just fires.
Right.
So I think, I tell them like, you guys are the badasses in real life. We just played them on TV. You're the real deal. And I've got some really good relationships, from them. And then when I was with the Tahunga Hotshots up there, there was a gentleman named Josh and his superiors took me around and just, they've got a new breed of recruits that are going in there and they're amazing.
I think you're going to have to help us find a Tahunga Hotshots patch.
I know a place.
How about that?
Yes.
Have you seen their vests where they have the actual patch?
No.
So chalecos or vests or cuts or whatever you want to call them, they actually have those framed up in their wall of memorabilia and nostalgia. And they used to actually wear those during the fires.
Really?
Because a lot of them rode. And the reason they had to stop doing that was regulations with, fireproof gear, but they would wear those right in the fires.
Jeez.
And I think it was Josh Mora who was there that was explaining the whole deal to me. But yeah, there's something else. We're going to have to go up there and pay them a visit.
We should do that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
in.
going to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good people.
That's
then
awesome.
We'll go to the Munch Box for a hamburger.
So the Men of Fire,
yeah,
they're not hot shots. They're firefighters in a station.
Yeah.
They're good men as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's quite a few different chapters.
Yeah. Right.
And so we were at a track day 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Josh was in Iceland screwing around, and there were 3 Men of Fire guys there. And just because of our relationship with the team out here,
smoking sats,
so it was cool to be with them.
They're
and by
good
the
guys.
way, you got to do this track day.
I'm down.
It's insane.
I'm down.
Like, I know you ride fast, but this is insane.
But we ride fast and good. But there was 5 world champions. It just showed you some more stuff that made it so you can do even faster and safer. It was awesome.
I mean,
I had a smile all day long.
I bet.
It was just, and we've got tons of miles down. So do you.
Right. But yeah,
it's something like my dad, when I first started riding, it was like, so we started off on these little Strider things and mini bikes, but it was like, just go ride. And there was no like formal training, like, dude, you need to do this and that. So we just kind of learned by osmosis. And cool part of it was like, hey, we're doing mostly the right things, but there are a few things that we can brush up on. You
can always learn,
Yeah.
that I think I was always tell myself, because just when you think you've got it figured
out,
fate will kind of throw you a curveball.
Exactly. My favorite part about ripping around the track was when you were going around a corner and you were going at a nice clip, and you were looking at the red and white stripe on the corners. Yeah, that was cool.
Kind of feels like when you're going through Colorado to get to Sturgis, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Utah?
Now that ride, when we do that or anything like that in canyons now, we take what we did at the track to that, it's on.
Oh
Yeah.
man, maybe I should
Goes
do that
on
before I go back to Sturgis. Yeah, it's gonna be a long one this month at Sturgis, or that in August. It's gonna be a long one.
Well, this they do it once a year out of Red Rock Harley, and they do it for their customers. And so there's no other Harley track day like this.
Right.
There are other champ schools that you can go take, but this one is specifically for, you're not even supposed to have any other bike than a Harley.
Right.
And so there were 40 of us, and we had 6 instructors or so. And there were beginners to people that have put down lots of miles, and every single person walked away with something.
Really. I like Red Rock Harley. They're good people out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a tour through there and met some of the staff, and they're really
They put it
solid.
in. They put their whole soul into it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I got love for that place.
yeah.
And it's not a money maker for them. It's
Right.
but there's an overwhelming amount of motorcycle accidents in Las Vegas. So they are trying to help people understand how to ride and ride better,
Right.
and try to stay out of danger. Like he was talking about, just if it's called covering your front brake. A lot of us ride with a finger over it or 2 fingers over it.
Right.
A lot of us ride just with the throttle.
Right.
And by the time you reach the front brake, if a car pulls out, if you're doing 60 miles an hour, it's 40 feet,
Right.
1 second.
Right.
So that's just trying to reach for the brake. So if you're
Right.
covered already, now you're pulling in, you might gain 40 feet,
If they see
I'm
you
doing
on
something
the
right
track,
then.
right?
Yeah. If they see you on the track without your finger on
Right.
it, they're yelling at you.
They'll say something
Hey,
to you. Yeah.
Cover the brake.
Okay, well, I got one thing down.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, but Vegas is I mean, you figure you have the casinos that are open all night. You have
Yeah.
people drinking. You have people from out of town, people pulling all-nighters. Everything is already against you
Right.
from the gate. And when we got back from Sturgis, we had to go through Vegas. It was so hot.
Yeah.
And there was a major wreck, and it was just, I like going there through the late night hours during the week to try to get there before the weekenders get there. But yeah, Vegas it's sketchy. I got to say, I mean, I don't mind riding through there, but I'm always happy to leave when you get near the border, or
Yeah.
when you're passing Vegas. Like,
Well, to your point, I mean, it is just, there's constant traffic all the time.
right,
And it's like, especially if you're down by the strip or you're in any of these,
Right.
it's just insane how many cars and people there are.
It's like riding in
within-
Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've been sitting in the Virgin River Gorge,
Mhm.
120 degrees, dead stop traffic, something up in the highway. You're just like on our way home from Sturgis going, oh man.
Mhm.
But hey, if it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
So
Today felt like
doesn't
Sturgis.
Frankie
Yeah.
look just so damn good in that hat?
I love it. And I never wear
Jeez.
hats. I'm digging this.
Jeez, might have a new style here too.
Yeah, this would
We'll
have
see
helped
what
inside the
happens.
helmet when it was raining.
Yeah,
I didn't know what was happening.
it was weird. We had a thunderstorm pass through about an hour ago, and he got caught in it.
That wasn't in the cards today.
No,
It
it
just
was super
appeared.
beautiful in
Yeah.
Hollywood, but it was like Sturgis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We had a couple years in Sturgis where we had zero rain,
right.
and then we had
2020.
some where every day it rained.
2020 rained a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
But-
man,
So we saw you on a Hyundai commercial.
yeah. I did a
What the
Hyundai
hell's going
commercial.
on with that?
That was awesome. It was fun because
What were you riding?
allegedly Rose and Indian. But there was the stunt. I rode with the stunt team, which you're always going to be on your game with those guys,
Right.
and the best part about that was there's a gentleman named Dave Castillo
Oh,
who
know him well.
is one of the greats, and he was obviously on Mayans. He doubled a couple of the guys, and he's just a solid,
Yeah.
nice, humble guy. So when I saw him, I was like, okay, cool. Like this doesn't
It'll be
feel
all
so
right.
intimidating. But it was also, he knows that I ride. So if anybody else had any, this guy really ride or whatever, because I get it. There's always that hesitation when you have a
Right.
stranger come, in these situations, and he advocated for me. So I really didn't want to let him down. But it was nice because by the end of the weekend, the head stunt coordinator, he told me, if you ever, we'll bring you out. So I kind of felt that's the part about the
Yeah.
commercial felt good. I earned their respect, and you always want to earn somebody's respect.
Do you know Regis Harrington as well?
I don't know.
He usually works with Dave.
Possibly, I was tell you what, it was 39 degrees,
Yeah.
winds, dust.
But the cool thing is now that I knew you, I was laying on the couch and I'm sitting there and I go, wait a second. Was that Frankie? Turn it back. Oh, it's Frankie.
It's a trip because people were like, I didn't think it was you because you were smiling. And they got it confused with the other guy.
Yeah.
Like that.
How funny.
Yeah. That was a fun weekend. It was. And we actually filmed where we filmed the Mayans. So it was kind of cool to
A
go
little
back and be in the same
So it was
area.
like in
Lancaster
Yeah.
area, and the dust and the cold and everything I remember was all there. So it felt like home.
that's what Emilio was saying. He loved it because he just got on and went right to work. It was right around the block.
Right. Which the great thing about it was that particular weekend, he had his yearly Christmas party. So I got to go back to the hotel and get all the dust and the dirt off and clean up and go to Emilio's. And then I always feel like when I go to his house, because my birthday's 2 days before Christmas and he has it before then, I feel like Christmas officially begins when you go to Casa Rivera, because his wife Yadi always has like this great spread of food out and candy and cakes and stuff you
I
shouldn't
mean,
eat.
she feeds the dogs better than we.
Yeah.
That's why I
You know
like
what I
going
mean?
there. Yeah, he's always like, the door's open, brother. Come by anytime you want. It's like, don't say that because I know the food situation over there.
Right.
Like, it's
And
worth the ride.
What do you say? His dog gets a scoop of peanut butter every morning.
That, and they make fresh chicken and
Yeah,
different things.
yeah. I mean,
like,
it's a good deal over there. And honestly, it's one of my favorite places to go because you walk in that house and it's just like, oh, this feels like home.
it feels homey.
It's very much, and it's a credit to him and his wife and Rocco, his son. And
Well, we had a blast with him. I mean, all of you guys have been so gracious
Right
to
on.
come hang out with us. We're a bit closer just because of the time we've spent, but he was a really fun, great guest,
he's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emilio Rivera.
And he's got some stories.
Yeah.
And I love that about him too,
Yeah.
because sometimes you think you never know one's background.
Right.
And sometimes you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go do something. And he's one of those guys that just said, okay, I'm going to do something.
Have you ever seen El Camino Christmas?
No.
It's a funky movie with Dax Shepard.
Oh, Dax Shepard?
And
No, I haven't.
Emilio's in it. He owns the gas station liquor store, and it's all about that. So check it out.
I'm going to check it out. Yeah.
El Camino Christmas.
El Camino Christmas.
And send the royalty check to Lance Corey at
That's funny.
2LaneLIVE.com.
So he runs a gas station.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah. He's
So
legit.
last time you were here, we were talking, you couldn't share. I know there's a couple different projects that you've been working on, but you've got a new movie coming out as well.
It was filmed a while back ago, but it's a film called Die Like a Man. And I know it sounds like an action film, but it's actually not. It's a pretty heavy dramatic film. It was written and directed by Eric Nazarian, who I was so glad that when it's one thing to get, when you get the work, you always appreciate the work, but to have somebody, the mastermind behind it, who's just another amazing human being who I've gotten very close, with. He's like a brother.
Well, I was telling you, I read something that is loosely based on his upbringing, right? Because he was on the West Side or something down in LA, right?
Well, he was born, I believe, in the East LA area.
East LA.
But the story does fall on the West LA. As it was explained, there was these, four corners of West LA, Culver City, Venice, and Santa Monica,
Right.
And the gangs over there, and the old families, and the gentrification. And it's amazing, without saying too much about the film, but you have this beautiful beach and people come from all over the world to be there because it's beautiful and it's a place to be. But a few blocks back in the darkness, there's an underbelly of there's crime, there's generations, and not all, but the story pertains to that. But this cycle of violence, or the passing of the torch of this is what a man is, and this is how a man dies, and it falls on this young character who he's just a confused kid, and you could tell he's a good kid, and you could see how somebody who's, you know, that we've seen it before, but the way Nazarian did it, I liked it because he didn't glorify anything, and you see the struggles. You know, in a lot of movies you see guys going to their rite of passage, and you don't really see the anxiety or the shame or the confusion or the guilt or the remorse. You don't see any of that. And he touched on so much of it with his character. And it's an amazing watch.
When will it be? Where will it be? And when will it be?
So it's going to, I believe on April 25th, it's going to hit Apple streaming, but it's going to be in a series of theaters in the next coming weeks.
Oh, cool.
So you're all going to come out and watch it with us.
We're definitely going to come out and watch it.
But
It's the trailers even.
Yeah, I watched the trailer.
It's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
I knew that he was going to do something, you know, that was going to leave a scar. But the first time I saw it was at the Academy. And I was just like, I didn't do any Q&A. I took off right afterwards because it was a heavy watch.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I wasn't in the film, I would love it just as much. It was a very moving film. I was glad to be part of it.
Yeah.
You said you were getting into character a little bit too, huh? Had to do that, right?
Yeah, I didn't sleep for a few days. So a lot of it was kind of a blur.
Yeah.
And until I saw, you know, scenes and I went, oh, I remember, you know, I do remember being around good people, you know, his direction, you know, the characters I worked with, but it was a blur. I think that's probably why I was blown away when I saw it, when I was at the Academy, because it's the first time I saw it. I never saw teasers or snippets, or I saw it, you know, and I was just like,
You were so immersed in your character.
Yeah, I was. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. So I honestly, I got out of there, hopped on the bike, and I really, I was really kind of affected by it for a couple hours. Yeah. And
why didn't you ride up here?
Well,
we could get you a liquid death and
totally. I wish liquid death could give me more liquid death. I love it. But yeah, I kind of had to sit the rest of the night out.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie.
I can't wait to see it.
You immerse yourself into it 100% then.
It was the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there's no way with the film like that, I think you could have a happy morning, you know, walking the dog and, you know, just being a cheerful guy and then jumping into that. If you could, cool. I really, you know, I empathize with that character a lot. I relate to it a lot, but I also have seen that person before when I was a youngster. So I really wanted to kind of embody that as best as I could.
Yeah.
And
Were you a family member? Were you just a street guy? What was your?
I mean, in a nutshell, you have the lead and his mother. She's, you know, pretty much a single mom, and I'm the boyfriend. And the relationship between the kid and I, you know, it's something you'll have to see.
One of those.
Yeah, that sounds right there. Interesting.
But you know, he's how do you say it? I think in that world, it's hard when you have people that you don't want to condemn the younger guys for, you shouldn't do that because you'll end up like this. But here I am. I did this. You know, I can't preach you as something that I did and tell you not to do something that you're probably going to do anyway, which is kind of a brutal conflict of everything. And I think the story touches on that without saying too much. And I think Nazarian really got it, and the people that did their characters were pretty amazing. The woman who played my girlfriend, her story, Bernice, she runs from streets to the set. She's helped a lot of kids find a better way through acting and art, and she was just a technical advisor, a consultant on the movie. So she'd be like, yeah, I don't think this is, you know, she was really to the point, because if there's anyone who knows, it's her. So they ended up having her audition, and she got the role.
No way.
She knocked it out of the park.
Really?
Yeah, she knocked it out. And it just...
That had to make you proud too, a little bit,
I was happy to
right?
see it, because she was so nervous. I was like, don't be nervous. Like, you know, we were talking.
You got this.
Yeah, and she just was very apprehensive. So I said, you know, tell me about your dog, you know, because she had this dog, and she's telling me all about the dog. I said, stop. I said, you see what you just did? She's like, what? That's all. You just bring that.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I could offer. But when I saw her do her deal, I was so like, I gave her a hug. I was like, I'm really like so proud of you. You took it so far in the best way. And I think it was a win for a lot of the characters and the people that did it, and Eric, because I think we all do deserve a good win now and then. And
For sure.
And I think that film is a win.
Well, he's done a few things. I mean, he did a piece on the Lakota, I believe.
Right.
Tanaka, I think it's called. Or Tatanka, maybe.
Tatanka was with Tatanka.
I know the buffalo,
yeah,
the bison.
And he also, his the way he sees family, he's such a meaningful thing. Like when I see you guys, I think family. I remember Sturgis. I just remember the Real Talks when we did the firemen's event. Just all that embodies a conversation in time and miles in between. And with him, it's the same thing. Just his name was Eric because his father, who we always speak so highly of, he passed away. He was friends with Eric Burden, so he was named Eric after Eric Burden, who's like his godfather or something, so to speak. So he's just an interesting guy. The more you talk to him, you're just like, yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to meet him.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
You're gonna meet him.
I want to see the movie.
Good. Well, you'll be there. Yeah.
So we're headed to Arizona Bike Week. You're not going to make it this year.
I had to cancel last minute.
Yeah. What about Sturgis?
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay.
It's going to be busy.
Who's going with you? The boys?
I'm going to meet up with the boys later, and I'm going to be there a few days. I'm going to be there for the long haul, I think.
The whole thing.
Really?
I mean, just even before that, because I'll be at the Buffalo Chip. I'm going to do one of the rides that they have there, one of the charity rides, and there's some other things I'm just waiting to see, but it's going to be a busy one this year.
So you're always giving back, always.
Well,
and everywhere we go and we mention your name, everyone we say it to, they're, oh yeah, he's a great guy.
That's nice to hear.
So you got a lot of people that like you out there, but you like a lot of people.
That one guy said that guy's a.
See, and he's the one that do you know his address yet? Did you find it out from him? Wherever you are, I know where you live. No, it's just I had a lot of help. I think that's just as simple as it is. I had a lot of people help me.
But they wouldn't have helped you if they didn't like you.
And that's
right.
I got to question their judgment. Yeah, but it's a thing I can't remember I can't forget where I came from.
Right.
And I almost lost everything. So, that humbles you. As much as you have to pay it forward.
Right.
And the person I think that set a good example of that was Danny Trejo too. Same thing. I think I lived my life this way because I tried to give back, and he was a good example. There's a lot of good examples. There's a lot of bad examples we had growing up at times, but as you get older, you find these things out of like, like we talked about earlier, life, there's abundance in life. So there's enough for everybody, but you have those people that have to take because they think there's nothing out there, and they kill the golden goose, I guess is the best term I use, and it's unfortunate. So I try to give back, because I also know that I've been very blessed. I shouldn't be here. That's true. So I always kind of catch myself. If I catch myself almost slipping, I always remind myself. Yeah.
Well, as an actor, you're in a little bit of different universe than we're in, but what's been interesting for us is the amount of people we feel like we've been able to help, whether that's mentally, physically, right, family ways, and I think sometimes we didn't expect that part of it initially. It's just kind of morphed into that.
Right.
What did Robert Eagle say?
And I think there's more times.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Robert Eagle said, Frankie is an amazing human.
Thanks, Robert.
But I think there's more, and especially in this day and age, we just don't maybe give back as much, and we seem to take, and it's like it's always, what about me? And
right.
I mean, social media has created that. It's like, if people could just take a step back and breathe for a minute, and partially we have to do social media every day just because we're trying to promote the brand.
Right. But you're also doing it. You're out there doing it.
Everyone in this room is giving back some way or another.
But it's like, there's a lady the other day at the grocery store, and she was on a card, and it was too much money, and she was giving back like tuna fish and a milk and this and that. And I'm like, just take it. We'll pay for it behind the
Right.
scenes. He paid for a couple of ladies' dinners the other night in a restaurant.
Right.
And
And it's just those
yeah,
little things that,
yeah.
you know, that someone, and I will say to people, because I like the movie Pay It Forward.
Mhm.
If you've not seen it, you should
Right.
check it out. But
Remember-
I like it, and I'll say to people, "No, what can I just pay it forward?"
It's true, but I disagree with you on one thing.
Yeah.
There's a more similarity in what we do than you think, whether it's as a storyteller, actor, and what you guys do. Because here's the thing: I don't know if you know this, but I'm just telling you. There's so many people I know that love this show because I know. I mean, and I'm sure they did it with our show and some of the characters, but we were doing bad things and we deserve to get our just desserts. But you guys are out there, God's country, talking with people, doing things, living your best life on the road, riding. And when I see it, I'm always happy because I'm like, I you know, it just makes me want to get up there more, even more. But it's people get to live vicariously through you in a good way. Like there might be some people that can't, you know, they're landlocked down or whatever, but they see you guys and it's like, I want that, or I strive for that. And they probably do. They probably end up going and buying bikes.
Yeah.
So you guys do I think you do way more than you probably give yourselves credit for. And that's okay because it keeps everyone humble. But you guys do a great service. And like I said, when we were at Sturgis and we were in the restaurant we ran into, it's like the guys I was with were so stoked to see you guys. They were just like, you know, it was, you know.
But you weren't.
Not true. I think on that one I'd been
I'm
up for
kidding.
42 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't sleep before Sturgis. You know, I'm that guy. Like,
We
did
had
I
a good
get this? Did I
conversation.
pack this? Yeah, you know, I was doing.
I think thank you for that compliment. But I
True.
think right there in that restaurant, didn't we say you need to be on our live show?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we ran into each other at the Boar's Nest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
And you're
good
coming
times.
there.
Yeah,
So
I'll be there.
on
Let's
August 3rd,
August
we're going to
3rd.
do probably from 11 to 1 or something like that. We'll
Time
get the
to be
10 to
details
2,
determined.
11 to 1.
because we've got to go to Medicine Wheel Ride at Outlaw Square right after. So
Pay attention to our socials.
join us. The first 100 people get their meal paid for and a shirt. And we're going to do a meet and greet with Thrashing Crew's going to be there. We're going to be there. Frankie's going to be there.
It's going to be the 2LaneLIVE Burger Bash supporting the Boar's Nest and Lead, and they are the best people. The owners are awesome. So details will come out. Stay tuned. We're planning it way ahead, so it's going to be a good party.
That's a great place.
Yeah.
You have to go there at least twice in a Sturgis trip
Been
because
there.
because you got to get one. You got to get the cheeseburger,
In fact,
and then you got to get the pulled pork burger.
I do.
We
I
saw
do
you
the
there.
pulled pork
Yeah.
burger. Yeah.
Yeah.
we saw you there after the restaurant night.
I just ratted myself saying I went out twice. I had one date there and the other one I was like, what do you do? I should have had the hat. And I did go there twice. Might have been on the same day. Allegedly. Allegedly.
No, and they're great people.
It was so much fun.
Oh.
Yeah. The weather was a lot better this year, except on the way back, it was super cold. And for some reason, the deer were just jumping out at us like crazy because we came through Deadwood this time. And
You went down through like Lusk and that.
right.
Yeah.
And then we got hit. I mean, they weren't locusts, but they felt like them. And it was a lot going on that particular trip, but it was still.
We had
it
a
was fun.
fair amount of rain.
Yeah.
A couple big storms.
We always like staying in Deadwood because we like to walk on down
Right.
and be on the main street at night with no bike, just,
Right.
having dinner and whatever.
The other house got rented, by the way.
Did it?
Yeah. So she's going to look for another one. So you can't mention any other projects you're on?
No, not at the
Okay.
moment.
But you're on project.
No.
If you are, that's
I've
awesome
got
'cause
good
you're
people
busy.
that are always looking out. I'm
See, he's got
stoked.
He's got good people all around him.
I'm
Again, right?
lucky. I love them. I'm tell you what, I got the three main ladies in my life. I got my lawyer, my agent, and Debbie Black. Debbie Black, Bartels.
Oh,
She's
yes,
another one. Yeah,
yeah,
old Debbie. So I say, well, Debbie, like beautiful Debbie. Yeah, but they're like the holy trinity of just having my back.
That's awesome.
I couldn't be more stoked. And
Well, you got this triangle here. We got your back.
I love it. I know. I was really happy to be here. Like I said, that when the weather kind of went a little erratic for a minute, I was like, I don't care. I got somewhere I got to be. I'm fine.
Right? I'm fine. I'll make it.
So what we'll have to do is figure out a schedule, and we should put down a ride somewhere.
I'm down. Seriously.
Like get a couple of your guys.
They're down.
And if you guys want to burn somewhere, go to Williams, go to whatever.
We could do something kind of local that doesn't take too much time.
I'm down because it's the guys you met at Sturgis.
Yeah.
But it's got to be overnight.
No,
Fine.
on a couple days, whatever.
Yeah. I'm down. Let's do it.
We just went up to. We have a guest on next week that owns Johnny's Bar and Grill up in Hollister.
Oh yeah.
And
I've been there.
We rode up there, and it was like we had, out of all the years we've been in California,
Yeah.
and we hit some of the most beautiful roads.
Right.
We just did all back road.
Right.
And I just carving. It was just beautiful.
Well, up there near Hollister, that's up to 152 to get to Johnny's.
So
correct.
we did the 25, the 198 to the 25.
Mhm.
Right.
So we went 33 up through Taft and then up further.
We stayed off
Then
the
cut
highway.
across
Right.
and then 25 in. But yeah, you could probably coming in this way is going to be the 150. We came the back.
Right. Well, I stayed in Santa Cruz in between LA and Santa
Yeah.
Cruz, so I was always, pushing through there. And then I like going up to like Scotts Valley and the mountains up there, Bigfoot country, or a little spooky at night. Ben Lomond.
What's your thought on Bigfoot?
Oh, I totally believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Well, let's just be honest. I think anybody, and I know present company, it's like when you're riding out in some of these places, things get a little interesting.
You feel something.
Last year at Sturgis, things got a little interesting. Had a little incident, and yeah, I just, you're out there. It's like, so many things have happened. There's history out there. So why would it not happen? I think if you're open to it, you might.
I think that's the key. If you're open to it.
Yeah.
If you shut down, no, but
Anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking with this awesome gal, I know, a friend of mine, and we were in Rapid City, and she was at an Airbnb not far from where we were. And it was, 1 a.m, whatever. And we're just talking. She's sitting on the bike. We're just talking. And I see these 3, I thought they were like 7-foot tall people in the back. And I thought they were just watching us. I'm like, well, we're in their neighborhood. They don't know us. We're not making noise or anything, but it's just, they're probably just keeping an eye, seeing who's out there. And I'd look and they were gone. And then I'm like, okay, well,
You can't sleep at night.
yeah. but that was the thing. They look like shadows. And it's like, I don't drink, I don't party. This is about as far as I go. So I'm like, no, I saw that. And then I was like, there's something kind of weird happening here. We kept trying to turn around and see it, but I saw it 3 times. And then the 4th time when she finally turned around, it was a guy walking his dog. So it kind of, but it was, Rapid City's, a lot of reservation burial ground at that time years ago, was it not?
yeah.
So it's very historical.
100%.
Deadwood's very.
Deadwood.
They got the haunted.
Monument Valley, like
Yeah.
the
Right.
Skinwalkers.
Right.
Monument Valley.
See, I didn't say the word.
Well,
yeah.
we talked about it with this Sherpa guy that we
Mhm.
went out with Dan Mose, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, these are old medicine men, and so
Yeah.
they're
'Cause
walking.
they were, like seriously, it was like they were too tall to be people, but at the same time, there was 3 of them, and it was very interesting. That's all I'm going to say. But at the same time, it happened. I wouldn't change my story on it one bit, but it was also, I also felt a lot when I went to Wounded Knee. We all rode to
Yeah.
Wounded Knee, and that's heavy.
I know what you mean with that because we've been standing on the edge of battlefields.
Mhm.
I remember being next to the Ardennes forest in Germany or Belgium. And it was like, you feel this, wow, there was kids here fighting. There were
Mhm.
kids here dying. There was,
Right.
and you feel it all over. We should just all go stay at the Jerome Hotel in Arizona. It used to be a
We've stayed there.
hospital. And
Right.
it's haunted.
No, nothing happened to us.
No.
Matt Laidlaw had someone pulling on his toe, though. I think I don't know.
Pagosa Springs, that happened. Another crazy story. Everybody's going to think this guy's so out of his mind. I am, but so,
It's all the punk rock you listen to,
right?
It's
Totally.
just crazy.
Yeah, it was Pagosa Springs, and I was only familiar with the place because my dear friend Sherry, she runs the LA Litas. Boy, can she ride! She's fierce. You'd love her. If you ever want to meet her, talk to her.
Wait.
Actually, you met her here when we had the event.
Oh, okay.
Sherry's like, yeah, she's rad. But I got familiar with Pagosa Springs because she went down. She got hit by another car. So she was over the hospital for a couple of days right before Sturgis. So she had to come back. So I was familiar with the name. We ended up staying in Pagosa Springs. Well, everybody had their room. We stayed in this weird hotel that reminded me of something out of The Shining. It was kind of weird, but it wasn't that fancy, but it just had this. And disclaimer, obviously I didn't sleep very much. So that's the first thing I thought. But I was in my hotel and it was freezing for me. So I had the heater full blast. And it was about 5:30 in the morning. And we had kickstands up at 6:30 a.m. And I feel this little pinch on my shoulder. And I hear, "Excuse me, sir, may I help you?" And I was startled, but the first thing I see is the TV. I'm like, "Oh, it's the TV. I'm fine. I'm good." But I'm still a little uneasy. Well, I'm going to get ready. I don't care what time we're getting up. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to get ready. So I went in the shower, and the shower's hot. Heater's obviously going in the room. And I'm taking a shower, and I hear that. "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" Pull the curtain back. Now, understand, you have the heat from the hotel room. You also have the shower that's hot. Right when I peered out and looked, for some odd reason, I don't know why, there's nobody in there. Freezing cold, ice cold. I'm like, I'm just showering. I dressed, I waited in the lobby. And then for a while, I went out and waited by my bike in the park. I just was done with that place. So Pagosa Springs.
Where's Pagosa Springs?
Colorado.
Oh, gotcha.
We stayed at a place up outside of Oakhurst.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And it was a former mental institution, medical for people
World War II.
for World War II vets. And it was really cool, laid out great,
Right.
just a beautiful property. And my wife thought she heard Laura, his wife, laughing, saying, "Come over here." And she went around the corner. There's no Laura.
Yep.
And she's like, she heard it.
Yeah.
She's like, "Laura's calling me." Like, what do you?
Tell you, that's the perk of riding though, when you got in
Yeah.
some of those places, right?
Yeah. You pull into these places and you're like, all right, hey, they have vacancies.
Right.
I'm staying here.
And the hills have eyes scenarios.
But why don't we
come
go
out, you know.
somewhere where it's just like chill and we can have a steak and we don't need anyone bugging us? And,
Anywhere in Prescott, Arizona.
oh,
I love Prescott.
that's a great town.
Good people. And they butter your toast when you have breakfast there. That's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, they butter your toast. People are like, what are you talking? It's like, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Where do you stay normally?
Anywhere
You can find a bed?
sometimes, I mean, it usually seems that way on the way to Sturgis. You know, we decide we like to go as far as we can without, you know. But we had an interesting incident. We had a guy that was a newbie and I want to just stay here. I can't go. And like, you got to keep going, man. And we were in this weird town before we hit Colorado Springs. I don't know where it was, but all of a sudden it felt like the hills have eyes. We felt like, you know, we're seeing people kind of looking over. It looked kind of weird.
And this is in Prescott.
No, not Prescott. It was
No.
in Colorado, but I remember just going like, you can stay here. I'm all for one for all, but no.
We're leaving.
So they had the chase van and they escorted him, but it was just sort of like, we're not staying here, man. Like
Loveland or something?
all I know, it looked like a very small, to me, it seemed like a small casino town that you would find somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, but it was Colorado, probably 2 hours below Colorado Springs.
Really?
All I know is the minute we got to Colorado Springs and there was a Waffle House, I knew we were safe.
It sure sounded like a good time.
Right.
What's happening?
I think Nick Diaz is here to pick up his top and bottom tree for his
gotcha.
Softail.
When you go out with your dudes,
Mhm.
is there a leader?
Yeah, we have a leader. He doesn't want to be the leader, but everybody, we kind of lean on him a bit too much. It's Eddie. You met Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie. He's always like, why do I got to plan this? I'm like, because you just do it right every time. I got the Airbnb for everybody and I totally messed it up twice. But he's like the elder in a weird way. I mean, he's younger than us, but
He's got it dialed in.
Maybe we'll, and he's the guy.
And do you ride with them often?
Yes. In fact, the last time I did go to Arizona, he got a little bit of just cabin fever. He calls me and he's like, hey, I can't wait till Sturgis. I'm like,
Let's
okay,
go.
what do you want to do? He goes, want to go to the Grand Canyon? Yes.
Nice.
You know, and the cool thing too is it's one thing to ride with them, but also, you know, when you're breaking bread with them, you know, like, you know, shacking, like where you get, you know, you all like punch up for the night and just camp out or whatever. They're just guys that they're solid. That's why every year it's a thing. It's,
Yeah.
you know,
We have our group like that too. And we go a lot of places, a lot of really great places. That Sturgis is one trip a year that we all, no matter what, we're all
Right.
there. And it's like, look forward to it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. See, now that I didn't do Arizona Bike Week, I'm now it's just like, okay.
Right. Now you're
I'm
getting
You
really,
gotta
really ready.
Jones
for it.
on something.
Yeah. Chopper Fest was fun, you know, Born Free is not too far from here,
Right.
you know, but definitely Sturgis.
We're gonna have Grant on from Born Free. We'll go out there probably Saturday.
Yeah.
So not sure what your schedule is. It's not the best ride out there in the world, but when you're there, it's cool.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? I've realized today was Thursday. I just knew it was 2LaneLIVE day. I switched my schedule around.
Thursday.
Yeah. I was like, I'll be getting up early in the morning, going to bed kind of early, which people are like, I don't believe it's like, it's true. You know, and you'd be surprised what you can get done when the sun's up. They're like, yeah, where you been?
Yeah.
Like, I work better at night. I
Yeah.
just do. You know,
Is
plus,
that the musician in you? Or
I think it's the other thing, like when I have to write, you know, I just feel like in the daytime, you know, being on the road, you know, people are just, especially in Hollywood and the LA area, the freeways. So sometimes it kind of just umps the amperage of your being.
yeah,
And I notice for the most part at night, things tend to quiet a little bit. So it's easier to kind of
get in the groove.
it works for me. I like it, you know. I don't know. Or I'm rebelling from having to get up to go to school every morning. I don't know, but just night's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
peaceful. Stars. I love looking at the stars.
Yeah.
You know, when you're riding out, when you just stop on the road, like if you're out in Wyoming or something,
Oh man.
and you're just looking around going like, come on, there's nothing like it. We don't see that.
I mean, we
No.
were on the way back. We were trying to get
It's
a
in
hotel in
Utah.
Huntsville.
We ended up in Huntsville.
No, we ended up in Bryce.
Torrey.
But we were trying to get a hotel, and there's 3 of them.
Oh, Canesville.
Canesville.
That's where it was tweaked out and
Hanksville.
shut
We were
down.
in Hanksville.
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 There's
I like
3
the name.
motels, and they were all sold out.
And we've never been skunked there before. We're like, we'll
Never.
get one. Nope.
So we went. Now you got to ride, and it's dark, and there's
I think it was
deer and all sorts,
Yeah.
and it's really black. So we're like, we've got to stop. So we stopped because we all laid on the cement.
Well, we were
Right.
talking in the comp saying, hey, look up. We got to pull over and check this out.
Little did we know we were in a pullout right then.
Whoa.
But no one got us. But we sat there for like 10 minutes just gazing at the stars.
Right. This is awesome, especially
Yeah.
when there's nothing out there.
Right.
Oh,
But the antelope are over in Wyoming, right? The one
Yeah.
with the- yeah. So we had a thing where I forget what town it is, right? When you go from Wyoming to Utah or Utah to Wyoming. where
Rawlings.
It's super small where the speed limit's 14 miles an hour and it's just a small town.
Hmm.
And the one bar where all the guys hang out and they're bored and they're probably looking for a fight. But, you know, we're going 14 miles an hour and then we ended up getting to where the freeway or the highway was, the interstate, whatever, and just punched it. And because, you know, it was 100 and something miles to the next gas station.
Right.
And I remember, and when I had the brights on, you know, because they had these beautiful daymakers on that thing and the antelope, and you see, you're just like, oh God,
Right.
you know. But it was like you got to get through it.
I
I
don't
was
like,
more scared of the deer than I was the antelope.
I don't like riding at night. We like to get in before it's too
Right.
dark because we've been going across Texas in the dark and we're like on the horns. And
Right.
we're all, you know, just
Yeah, someone does this, someone does this, and someone does the lights. Yeah, that
But
was
we ended up that night in Torrey, and we got in these covered wagons,
uh-huh.
and they
Wow.
were like
beds,
pristine,
the whole, you know.
just beautiful, and then
heaters.
heaters and just these luscious beds, and it was just like
canvas covered.
wow. And we
No
got
way.
pictures of them all lit up.
Heck yeah.
And we just we stumbled upon it.
Right.
Like we've been through that town. We got service, and I'm like, let's go do this.
Right.
That's what's great about the open road and the ride, when stuff happens that you don't expect, and it's like you're like, this is the greatest thing ever. You know?
And what was it? It was like 80 miles back or 150 forward.
Yeah.
Right.
When we got skunked.
Right.
It was, and we ended up going forward, of course, and
we always go
made for another story.
Right. We had that thing where, was it, I think 2023, Sturgis, the thunderstorms and lightning storms were happening randomly, and we'd see it and we're like, everybody stop, and throw the rain gear on, and we'd be like, let's go. And then the storm wouldn't happen, and we're all
hot.
Pull over, take
do it again, and then the rain would hit, and we'd get drenched. It was like happened more times than I could probably count, but you know, whatever, it's fun.
Well,
we were dealing with so much rain in Sturgis, and we were in Spearfish Canyon, and everyone's pulling over, and I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of putting the rain gear on. I'm just going to the boar's nest and getting soaked. I didn't give a shit. It was like,
yeah, Deadwood was like, I just remember it was just raining that one. Like when it was, remember Saturday.
It was raining a lot.
Yeah, Saturday it was just pouring rain, and there was bikes that were like kind of going like, it's almost like potholes or sinkholes were happening. And
well, they closed a lot of the campgrounds, not letting people out,
right?
Because or in because it was so muddy.
Mud.
It was that was an interesting year. And then we got stuck in Nebraska. We kept calling it Nebraska. Because can we do this? No. Are we allowed? No. What about no? It was like everything was no. And my friend,
why were you in Nebraska?
I forget. We took some route for something. We just did. Because, you know, what else were we going to do? Or, you know, we're just having fun. And then I remember being at the hotel, and, you know, where is it? Ken was like, no. The lady's like, no. And then somebody goes, what about this? And Eddie, no. It was just, so we just called it Nebraska, you know. And
think about that. You have this memory just from being on two wheels. Because you're.
What's the,
we were at
what's the town in that had the one lady, and she was going to make us breakfast? So it was one person. Was that Nebraska?
I think so.
Right across the border from.
Yeah.
And it was one town, one post office, one lady.
Right.
She said, come on in. I'll make you breakfast.
The whole town.
But we didn't make it.
That's the stuff that I like. I remember I stayed at this hotel in Utah, and there was this old school vintage bowling alley sign, and I'll never forget. It was really cool, but it kind of like a Rob Zombie movie too. But we asked the lady, you know, and she goes, how long are you going to be here? I'm like, just a few hours. We're just going to sleep and just going to be on our way. And she said, okay. And she goes, so when you're done, when you turn in your keys, we'll be at church. And I said, okay. And she goes, go to the back where our house is, because it's connected to the hotel. And she's like, just open the back sliding glass door. And on the kitchen, you know, we have a thing where you just put the keys there and shut the door and find yourself out. And I was like,
you trust us?
She goes, is there a problem? I'm like, ma'am, like, I live in LA, like that's unheard of. She goes, well, you seem like a nice man. And I'm like, well, I'd like to think so, but that's just, it was mind blowing. She's like, yeah, just let yourself in the house and put the keys in, and, you know, just make sure you shut the door. Cause I was like, okay.
What if her TV was on, and right when she said you're a nice man, she turned back, and the scene on Mayans was you knifing? Then she might not let you do it.
Man, yeah, I don't know, but it was just mind blowing. You know,
it's great.
People are like, you're like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Shaking hands with America.
Right.
We meet the coolest people across this country every time.
I agree with you on that. That's why, you know, I always try to look at that first. You know, I've sat and talked to people that normally probably never have conversations with, whether it's at a mostly gas stations, it seems like you're gassing up. And I just, and when people would talk about the show, some of the stuff they'd say, I'd be like, whoa, you know, it's, you know, like there was guys from the refineries. Yeah, we would go to one guy's house at the end of every shift, and, you know, somebody to get the beer, somebody to get the food. And we knew we had to be to work early, but we didn't care. That was our night. I was like, that's, you know, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
I remember telling Elgin that. I was just like, it's amazing to hear, you know, people's stories. Because like I always say, it's their show, not ours. So they, you know, always have something to tell me. And the only thing I don't like, and I always like deal with it, is when people go, hey, I don't want to bother you, but if they want a photo or they want to talk, it's like, you're not bothering me, man. It's like,
you're good at that.
It's like you watched our show. You put bread on everybody's table. You kept the lights on. You know, if my bike, you know, back in the day, if I had any type of bike trouble, money, you know, you're going, no, you guys took care of us. You know, you're not bothering us.
Well, we agree with that wholeheartedly because we have people that we've had people that have called us and said, I saw you at the show, but I didn't want to bother you. I'm like, we're both like, bother us. That's why we're here. We want to say hi to you. We want to shake your hand. Do it.
Yeah.
You know, so out there, bother us. We don't care. We love it.
Right. It's just
Bother him. I don't need to be bothered.
well, I mean, it's just
I 100% agree, but a lot of times too, there's people that just don't want people in their space, and so you're not that kind of a person. At least I don't think so. But there are people in the industry that like it's separation of church and state. They don't bother me. I don't need that headache, and I want to be eating, and I don't want to be bothered.
Right.
And it's like, I don't think we even understood what that meant when we started this to where we are today. It's like, we'll take pictures, we'll screw around with people, and can we get a picture together? No. And then we're laughing with them, but they're helping support what we're doing, and they're helping supporting the store, and they're helping support a channel that is trying to give some good vibes back to this country and this globe.
Right.
You know,
and that's, it's almost like, you know, I just hope you don't ever think it's a bother, you know, like anything. And honestly, from clubs, power clubs to who always just been super respectful and gracious. And, and it's just like I told my old boss, I said, I forget we did a TV show because you're working with what's in front of you, and you forget that it goes out for the rest of the world to see. Right. You forget that happens.
Well, and I think for you guys in particular is the length, the longevity. And I think if you get past a couple of years of doing it,
right,
and it's the same show, I mean, it's just
routine,
you know, and it's
beautiful routine.
Yeah.
Right.
And it tells you how much people enjoyed it.
And that's the part that it was just so nice. It was just like, wow, you know, people I just would have never, you know, and Sturgis last year, it was amazing because the show had just finished. So the response was pretty intense in a good way. And I was just like, wow, I was times I was a little emotional because you're just going like, wow, I did this thing. We did this
and I'm not doing it next year.
Yeah. And
like
it needed to happen.
Closure.
Yeah. And I think that was the best way to end it.
Yeah.
Was that ride to and from, because the year before, you know, I was just not as present, you know, I was just a little, because the show was still going, there was so much going on, but this time it was probably my most favorite Sturgis trip because I just felt like I just got to enjoy myself. And then I go to Main Street and I'm trying to remember the name of the place, but they had the best ice cream. They had the best Rocky Road, which I'm not a Rocky Road guy, but it was the best Rocky Road. Yeah. So I would go there probably accidentally twice a day.
Accidentally.
And just, they were so gracious, the people there. I'm going to go back and see them this year. I'll go back. But yeah.
We'll say a headshot up there.
Yeah.
Here's to Bill and Eileen. Great Rocky Road.
Best Rocky Road. It was like just.
You know, it's funny because you're talking about the Keys, and there's still people in this country that trust.
It's a good country.
You know?
We have a great country. I know that people, like, everybody's got, you know, their take on what's happening right now, but it's like, you talk to somebody, like you talk to them, you realize we're not all that different. You know, none of us are getting out of this alive.
Right.
And, you know, how do you want to exit? You know, how do you want this to be? And I think sometimes, you know, doing the show or having, you know, an artist perspective of being able to talk to different types of people, you know, you could talk to all kinds of people I never thought I would talk to, like I said, and that's a gift.
Right.
You know, but I also think of the actors that I met along the way, you know, from the time I was a little kid up, and they were always gracious and humble. You know, Jan Michael Vincent was the first actor I met.
Really?
I was skiing. I was snow skiing, and I never snow skied. I don't know. My parents helped make that happen, but I liked it because, you know, dive bombed down the slopes, and I got injured a few times, but that's another story. But I remember meeting Jan Michael Vincent. And that's when he was in his prime, and he was such a humble, cool guy, and would just talk. You know, it was like very, you know. Same thing with Paul Sorvino. He was another one. I always remember how amazing that man was. And Josh Brolin, recently met him. He's a good, humble gentleman.
We're doing something with him next week.
Wow.
And Brian Bone Smith, I believe, right?
We're doing a little thing with Josh Brolin. We're going to,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be kind of a podcast, maybe ride.
You guys will
Stay
see it.
tuned.
So,
Yeah.
but being sponsored by 805, you said we're not going to leave here. I'm actually the only human being that won't leave the earth.
Mhm.
We're working on a generative liquid in the 805 juice.
Wow.
I don't think I'll ever die.
That's good. Stick
So
around.
Thank you, 805.
Stick around.
Stick around.
See what's going on later.
It's what's going on over there?
I'm getting an alarm because I'm going to a farm to pick up eggs, and I didn't want to forget.
Oh, and just
The
so
big
you
egg
know,
battle.
Big egg guy. What?
Diaz is picking up his bottom tree right now. He's in the other room, but
Okay.
he did leave us eggs.
Did he really?
Yes.
I'm stoked.
So maybe you don't have to go pick up your
I'm gonna
Free
do. I
eggs.
told him I'd be there. I'll be there.
Yes.
All right.
There you go. But the beauty of riding across country and seeing and stopping. I love when we stop at a place and we go into a restaurant or bar that someone might have said at the gas station or at the hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, go over there and eat and check them out. And they're friendly and nice. You do this trip, you crush miles. And as you're getting home, and I know it's a testament, we did 1,100 miles in 15 hours from Deadwood to Vegas. And you're tired, you're beat. But as you're getting home, you're thinking, what's the next trip?
Right.
You can't wait to do it again.
And it's waking up the next day where you're just like, oh, yeah, that just happened.
Right.
I had the best time, but once I got to LA, woman was cutting people off in traffic, honking the horn, yelling, screaming, like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah.
I'm back.
We've done things
Take
like
me
in
back. Yeah.
Page, Arizona, Williams, Arizona, different towns, Deadwood, where we've stayed there a week and interviewed the mayor, the people that live there.
Wow.
And we're into the thing where
Well, every year we've done
amazing.
kind of what I would call a documentary. So he's talking about, we did a documentary second year, Route 66. COVID had just crippled all of these small businesses on Route 66.
That was a weird year.
Yeah.
Weird year. And
We kept riding though.
And so we were like, we'll just take a piece of it and showcase to get Californians out there.
Right.
And that was kind of our goal, is get some travel, because gone were the days for 2 years of these tour buses rolling up with different people from
Right.
around the globe. It was just over for them. And a lot of them barely made it. They used their savings to get through it. And so we've done something like that every year. Last year, it was the Philly Street piece that we did with the Cowboys, Fletcher
Mhm.
Street Cowboys there. This year, we started off the year with it.
Right.
We went out to the Navajo Nation in Monument Valley and just had immersed ourselves in this history lesson that you don't normally get, you
Right.
know? And that was happenstance. We were coming back from Durango,
In 2020.
2024,
Oh,
This
wow.
was just this year.
just last
Yeah,
year.
wow.
And we met a guy in Aneth, Utah that has a population of 300 people
at a gas station.
at a gas station. And he's like, I'd love for you to come. I follow you guys. I'd love for you to come back, and our family can show you the history of what's going on. And so we took him up on the offer, and it was a pretty incredible few days. I'll tell you. And you hear from a Navajo native that he was part of, being sent to boarding school,
Mm.
and that was trying to culture people into the way America was.
Right.
And he had a little different take on it. He was upset that he went, but he was glad that he did, because when he came back, his job was to teach the youth
Right.
the Navajo language again, because they were losing it. So he became a very important person. And then to hear the history that he knows about the reservation and about the land and about the people and how it connected him even across the world,
Right.
it's just
Amazing.
very, very amazing.
Gene Brave Rock.
We know who each other is. We follow each other, and yeah, I'm a fan of his work.
So he saw our stuff we were doing, and he reached out and is like, hey, can I post one of your things, because I want to go. So we hooked him up with the guys in the Navajo Nation. He went there and did a thing with them, because he's trying to preserve the legacy of the language.
Right.
And he was on our podcast a little while back,
Nice.
but it was kind of on the road where he pulled up to in front of the community center in New Mexico or something, and in his truck
Right.
was live with us.
That's right.
You know,
Oh, that's cool. There's him and Zahn McLaren that does Dark Skies.
yes.
Zahn is another solid, good guy.
Yeah.
He rides too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
Awesome.
have to figure him out.
He's a good man.
I think I messaged him, but we might have to get a connection to him.
I know nothing. He's a good, humble guy.
Yeah.
And I love that show.
Yeah, I watch it all the time.
I binge watched it, and then now it's, the season. I got to wait every week now, and I kind of hate that. But
Yeah. It changed, though. It's AMC now.
AMC, I think, hasn't it always been AMC?
God, I was
I
watching
think it
on,
was
I thought it was on
Paramount. I don't know.
Paramount.
From what I know, I think it was AMC. I believe.
Huh.
I love that show.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I binge watched it on Netflix. No, one of those channels.
Yeah, I binge watched.
Well, you can do that.
It keep playing, and I'd lay there for hours. Just the next one. go
I'm on
through.
YouTube TV now,
Uh-huh.
and with the stream, you don't even get commercials. It just
Really?
goes through.
That's what I need. I binge watched Cobra Kai. I loved it. Oh my gosh, William Zabka. Whoa. There was so many metaphors and things about that storyline with Cobra Kai that I was surprised by and I could relate to. I'm sure you could relate to it, but it was just, you remember watching The Karate Kid as a teenager, whatever, like, oh, that guy's
Right.
He's just a bad dude. I don't like that guy. He's a guy I would normally fight. He's a bully, whatever, But the way they did his character, it was brilliant. Yeah, you have all the karate fight and all the crazy, but it was just, you see this guy that had this thing happen to him and it stagnated his life and his growth as a man. And although you saw the humor, you also saw kind of the tragedy. in
Right.
it. And to see him realize that the world had passed him by, because he was in this place. And then how he grew and made choices and decided to become what I took as a better man and saw value and but you also understood his backstory, what made him who he was.
Mhm.
It was so well rounded and so full circle that when it was over, I was like, wow, that guy rules. Like the character and just the way he played it, it was brilliant.
So what happens when you see something like that? It's obviously the actor acting, but do you think the writing and direction?
I mean, I'm sure that's a huge part of it, but I think any good storyteller is going to have life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see that in it was so sincere. And he didn't, there was things that he would do that were so they weren't over the top. They were so subtle. Like, how he didn't know he thought his computer was broken because he didn't realize you had to charge it. Or, it was just,
Right.
I'm going to put you on blast. Hash brown, you're finished. Instead of hashtag, it was just these little, it was just his, the generational humor
Right.
was there, but it was, it just was so, it was like a knife on butter.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top and it was so good. I think it was probably a combination of both, but I was blown away by it. I was surprised pleasantly. And I thought it was pretty amazing. I laughed a lot, but there was times you got a little choked up in some of his scenes. Like you're just like, whoa.
So it sounds like you're kind of a butter guy, not a margarine.
I was
guy,
just thinking that,
right?
because you go to Prescott and the most
He's got
impressive
Irish
butter on
butter
the
is
toast.
my favorite
Irish
butter.
butter.
Irish butter.
A little more cream to it.
Carry go.
Perfect.
Come on.
I heard the butter from Sweden is really good too.
Oh,
Well, Fess Parker restaurant in San Ynez or Los Olivos,
Yeah.
they bring you this bread out and they bring you this butter from Denmark and it's like, it's amazing.
It's like butter.
You're like, bring
Really
me
good.
more. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just on the plate with the bread and you're like, oh,
That's my next stop, Sweden.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I want to ride through all those places.
I do too.
I mean, I can ride in the rain. I do just fine, especially if I go through,
Right.
the UK or anything.
I'd like to do any like Sweden, Italy, something,
Yeah.
and do the countryside.
That's what I want to do. I just did a Google Maps trip with somebody over in Sweden, and I was understanding the villages and certain breaks between the country and where the water is, and I want to go there.
Yeah.
And when I see the videos that they post up at night, I'm like, I really want to go there. That's on my list of things to do when things slow down over here a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe on a little smaller bike,
Probably.
just because the roads are,
Right.
you know.
Those baggers would fit, no problem.
Yeah, it would, but
Well, they do got
But
baggers
you
over there
wanna-
because I heard a bunch of them go by.
yeah,
There's
it
a
was
bunch
like,
of scooters
you want to
everywhere.
rip though.
right.
Scooters are everywhere.
I want to rip.
You can
Rip that Dyna. Let's go.
Man, I just, yeah.
And send your clothes to and just like throw them away when you're done with them. Like,
I do whatever just to really experience,
Yeah.
just to get there. I had a friend, he was a musician, he passed away, but he was like, you got to come out to Norway. We'll go to Sweden. We'll do this and this and this. So I was always, they already put that in my ear. And I told myself I'm going to do it no matter what.
So speaking of musicians, there's a town in is it New York or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Jim Thornton.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Thorpe.
Jim
Jim
Thorpe. Beautiful town. You know Jim Thorpe, the athlete.
I
He's an
know.
American Indian, but he was in the
Yes.
Olympics.
Okay. Yes.
So they named the town after him. But up on a hill, we talked to some musicians. They said, right up over here, right, it's this really awesome little town. He goes, every musician you can think of has played in that
Really.
arena right there. I don't know what it is. It New York or Philadelphia?
that's in Pennsylvania.
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 Yeah.
Jim Thorpe. They made a movie about him.
Yeah.
Robbie Benson.
Yeah, so he's also one that went to boarding school, and that's how he got his name,
Right.
Jim Thorpe. And so that it's like Don knows. We asked him, how'd you get your name? And he's like, well, they probably looked at the Bible and just went, oh, there's a Don. Let's call him Don.
Right. My
You
uncles
know.
and my dad went through that.
Yeah.
Right. I just found out my cousins came out from Missouri, and I just found out that I don't know what tribe because they kind of consolidated themselves, didn't they, in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
But we're part of that. And I was like, I just found this out in August, and I was like, well, that explains a lot because I always found myself when we go to Sturgis, you know, our buddy Whitney took us to his reservation at Rosebud. What was it? Well, it was Rosebud Nation, but it was also the reservation and all the guys we went to. I'm trying to remember because we rode through in the rain 150 miles to get there. That was brutal.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. Pine Ridge. I think it was
Kind of.
Pine Ridge, and then going to Wounded Knee. I just always felt this connection. I could never. And then when my cousins told me, I was like, I got to know because I want to ride out there, and I really want to dial into that because it's two centuries I've been, or a half century I've been here, and I just found this out. Now I got to explore this.
Well, that was some of the stuff that Don was talking about with this, like, the Bering Strait, and people would walk, and is it true or not? There was this whole dialogue around how did people migrate? Like he met some people that took him. He developed a program to teach the youth, the Navajo kids, the language, and he did it through Rosetta Stone.
Mm.
So then there's the Russian government contacted him and wanted the same thing was happening in Siberia.
Yeah, in Siberia.
Where the youth was losing the language.
Right.
So they brought him in to consult. And he walked into a room and he didn't speak a lick of Siberia, but he talked about the tribe where it's him, his mom, his dad, his uncles. And he was talking about that. And a lady walked up and said, I understand what you're saying
Right.
through this.
Wow.
And they connected, and then they started talking. Then he's like, then he found out, maybe the
Bering Strait theory.
no, the Mongols, Mongolians. Like his grandfather would say the people down under.
No, he would say the underworld.
Underworld.
So when he,
And go
I
ahead.
was just going to say when he's telling us the story, we're hearing him out. But the second he said underworld, I was like, okay, but we heard him out. And by the end, it was, all their history is generation to generation being told verbally. And his grandfather or someone was like, yeah, everyone's from the underworld. They're like, what? And it's the other side of the world,
China.
which was China,
Mongolians.
Russia,
Right.
Mongolians, all that,
So he's talking about Siberia, he's talking about how all this, my wife's Hispanic and she's part Apache,
Right.
at least in the family line.
Right.
Well, they were original settlers at some point, the Apache and the Mexican
Right.
people that were
Right.
and then the Spanish people came over into the Mexican people. And so this
Right.
whole it's wild.
But that's why I was like, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah.
But so much I got to learn on that. Speaking of Mongolia, we should go to Mongolia.
I'm down.
I've been given an invitation to go ride out there. So
Really?
yeah, so I don't know if you ever heard of this band. I know the Who with Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey, but have you ever heard of the Who?
Yeah.
HU?
No.
You've
got
heard of
the-
it? Yeah.
Yep.
So they're Mongolian. They do the throat music. The traditional, yeah. But they have a song called Wolf Totem. If you ever looked that up on YouTube, but they ride.
Oh, really?
And yes, and I got to meet them when they came through on one of their tours. I went to their last tour when they toured with Iron Maiden, and you know they welcome you as brothers, and they refer to you as brother. They're very spiritually grounded. I mean, you think of backstage of most bands, you go back there and it's like a little temple. It's a trip,
Really?
and they're so gracious, and I made it a point to just meet them. And then the second time I got to see them, I think they were getting a little cabin fever too, being on the tour bus because they all ride. So I took the bike over and they took turns riding around.
Nice.
And but in their videos, like if you see the Wolf Totem video,
I'll
you'll
have
just
to
be
check
like,
it
this
out.
is pretty awesome.
Well, Don Mose, the Navajo that we met, he rode with us, and he's in our video, and
He
he's a
rode
great
quick.
rider.
Yeah.
But he has two brothers and his father. They were there, and they're all musicians, and they played, and they did this whole thing with us, and we got to do the dance and the chant with them. And then when we were done, they said, "You guys are brothers now," And I know that related to what you were just saying.
So is it like a chant kind of
It's just
like a
throaty,
Gregorian?
very throaty. The instruments they play are, it's very much, you got to hear it. And you see the video where they're riding, you have the Mongolian, traditional Mongolian. There it is right there. Yeah.
Well, let's go ride with these guys.
They're awesome.
I'll skip forward a bit.
Oh, look at it. The fight and rage.
So
Wow.
Sounds cool. I can already feel the movement.
try riding down with that one on an open road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still play?
I do. I'd like to get back to that. There's a gentleman I'm working with, but it's a different type of project. He's in a band called DI, Clinton Calton. He's a good guy. We're going to be doing some stuff. It's going to be a little different than what we normally do. Because, I mean, it's one thing to play punk rock music or rock and roll, but I love all kinds of music. So we're really, and we all play different instruments. So we're kind of touching on a couple interesting.
What do you
Things.
play instrument
Drums,
wise?
isn't he?
I can play piano, believe it or not. I love piano. I can play guitar. I can play bass. I play drums. Drums is what I grew up on playing since I was about 4, I think. And my dad had a Ludwig. It looked like Ringo Starr's set, the one he had on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Mm-hmm.
That beautiful black and silver, like. And so I, grew up playing on that thing. And I remember having the big headphones, the ones that were about this big, and I'd turn the volume up and just that was just my get down,
Right.
And,
So do you do it for fun or anything?
yeah, I
Or
still
you're
do
not?
it. I got a set in the house.
Nice.
This one's electric, so at 3 or 4 in the morning, I can still, trust me, still playing.
So you're still in headphones. They're just not
Still
a fit.
doing it, still blowing out the eardrums. But
Right.
yeah, it's so fun because sometimes I catch myself, like the other night, Cheap Trick Live Budokan came out, right? And I remember just trying to learn the intro from Bunny Carlos when they played Ain't That a Shame. And I remember being this little kid just trying to get it, and then all of a sudden I'm doing that. It's kind of like,
You're there.
you're that kid again. And it's kind of cool. But yeah, I'll find myself sometimes between 3 and 5 a.m. still like playing. Like
That's why you see Sasquatch all the time.
allegedly, but I'll
man.
tell you what, I'll take it, because there's nothing. I can definitely say life can be good. It can have its moments that don't feel so good, but it's never boring. I mean, and I think that's the part that I trip out on, like it's never been boring. There's always something,
Right.
But I think, you know, and I don't really try to think about it, but I know that like whenever they close the books on me one day, I'll be like, I think I did a lot of things that I didn't think I could do or let on other people. And like, yeah, I'm good. You know,
You lived.
Yeah.
I have lived. That's the one thing. Like I have lived. The only thing I worry about more than anything is one day when you're like, well, what do you mean I won't be able to ride? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not buying into that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I'll be 100. It's that video of the guy who was what, 95 or almost 100. He's still riding. I was like, yes.
If you have any bit of health and you have your leg or body strength, and I don't care how old you are, you can get on a bike and ride.
Yeah.
Just never stop moving.
Right.
You know?
And that's the thing. When I saw him, I was like, yeah.
Yes.
You know, master, teach me. Because you know.
That's some people are blessed with that gene, you know, like his dad couldn't ride today, but he's 92. He still comes in and works.
Right.
He golfs.
And he's still a character.
Right.
And he golfs, and he'll talk about his ailments, but I mean, there's some people that got that good gene that can just keep going, you know.
It's you know, it's you put on those miles, you know, they can say, well, it takes a lot out of you, but it also gives a lot back too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's stuff you can't take
I
away.
think you get way more back out of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's just
like you said, you're just coming off the Mayans and you took a road trip with your buddies, and it allowed you to get some closure and cleared your mind. And that's on a motorcycle. That's with your pals. That's doing a ride. That's having a steak somewhere, having a burger here.
Yeah.
You know,
I just, like I said, you know, I mean, I have that thing. I'll take 4 quarters over 100 pennies, and I wouldn't, you know, eat with people I wouldn't starve with. I'd starve with those guys.
Yeah.
You know, we've, you know, kept each other afloat in crazy times. But when we ride together and we're in that formation and we're smashing, allegedly smashing, right in the speed limit, you know, and like, I'm always a big fan when the sun's coming down, you know, when the sun's setting and the skies are different, you know, there's just these moments. Like I remember these moments and how the temperature felt, you know, was it getting a little cool? Was I, you know, you know how the trees always seem to turn a different shade when, you know, it's just these things that I remember as you're passing.
I think that's one of the things that the channel's done for us a little bit more is we would get in before the sun goes down, and now we're getting in twilight and these beautiful, and that changes the whole diametric of the what we're seeing. Like it's just, wow, how vivid was that?
Right.
Or look at that sunset. That was crazy. Or look in your mirror. You can see the clouds and the orange and the clouds behind you. You know?
No matter where, you could take a ride across the desert 100 times, and it's going to be different every time.
True that. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorite memories is going through Utah. One morning, I think it was like 7 a.m., but it looked like it was a sunset. The sky was almost orange and pink, but it was morning.
Yeah.
And I just remember like, wow, this is just amazing.
We kind of had that in Monument Valley.
Yeah.
We had the sun rising and the moon setting at the same, the same horizon.
With level. The mittens, you know,
and this orange. I mean, it was spectacular.
And it was 14 degrees.
And we had a guy playing the flute and another guy hitting the hand drum. And we're just like, what are we doing?
And we're just there in the, you know.
Yeah, freezing cold, but it didn't feel like it. And it just, the whole spirit of it was there, you know.
And those guys were so cool and so just took us right in and talked and showed us and just.
That's amazing. I know I'm excited to hear, you know, the Arizona Bike Week stories when people get back.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's safe when they get to and from and in between. Yeah. Next year for sure.
Wow, we've been chewing it up almost an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate you. We
Thanks
love
for
you.
Having me. I love you too.
I mean, you took the call and you're like, yeah, I'll be right there. And you didn't have to do that. Lance and I could have been here just jabbing it up, and it's better to have family here with us.
So where can they find out about the movie, where they can see stuff, the trailer, watch it? Okay. So if you go to my Instagram, Frankie Loyal, make sure it's a blue check mark, not the fake ones that ask people for money. I definitely have a post on there about the Die Like a Man movie. There's also the Instagram page for Die Like a Man. They'll have the information on the theater times, and it's really a good watch. It's compelling. So
I
You
would
just put
suggest.
the links on here too.
Cool.
And if they wanted to donate, which fire chapter do you support mostly?
Well, I support our LA County firefighters and the firefighters abroad. The Firehogs MC. You can go on their website. I believe it's firehogs.org, if I'm correct. My favorite charity is the one that does with the fallen firefighters, the Widows Orphans Fund. There they are. And
So
they're
if you're feeling
solid.
compelled to donate some money,
Right.
go there and help the folks out.
It goes to a good place. Our firefighters really, and first responders really, they went the extra mile with the LA fires,
Yeah.
and they're still going. I mean, I helped somebody move what was left of their house, to evacuate and pack Palisades, and you're just going, wow. Never in a million years when I used to come through would I think that it was unrecognizable the first time I went there, because we ride through there, to
Devastating.
head out to Neptune's or something.
All right.
Couldn't even recognize it. So the firefighters definitely, God bless them.
Well, Josh, Eagle Rider.
This episode is also brought to you by Eagle Rider Motorcycle Rentals and Tours. Don't forget to check out 2LaneLIVE.com under the Eagle Rider tab to see how you can book a trip, save some money, and have a good time while you're at it. And with that,
Well,
And I'd like to thank again,
yeah, that
Firestone
8050
Walker.
was actually pretty good.
Pretty
And
good.
follow-
Thanks, Matt.
follow Frankie Loyal's Instagram and check it out because the guy's got a really cool career and it's fun to watch.
Thanks. You guys do too. 2LaneLIVE.
Yeah.
TuLaneLIVE.com. Get all your merchandise. And with that, we'll see you
Down the
Down the road.
road.